This is game one of Nova v Turin, who we're going to be calling Sparty for the rest of the video. And I'm going to go ahead and start it now at middle speed. With me is King Arya.
Hey, what's up?
Did not play in the tournament, but is a very capable player on a similar level to both of these players. Nova is probably the favorite to win the tournament, and Sparty was our number 4 seed in blue. And in a Persians war, we will probably see a lot of trash, and whoever can bank the most gold, use that for gold units, and try to swarm the other person with trash will probably have the advantage here.
Yeah, so the key really I would say in a Persian war is first of all you obviously have to come up with a strategy, right? You can't just wing it, but I would say is using your trash efficiently enough that you'll have some resources banked up to go the gold units that will probably ultimately make the difference. So like if you're just spamming trash, it'll be very hard to push an opponent because they'll be spamming trash and it'll just be a big fight. But if you have, let's say, some gold unit that can actually knock building down or whatever, then you'll probably be able to push more efficiently. So whoever saves more resources in the bank to sell for gold will probably end up taking the advantage.
Definitely. And Persians, they have so many different options they can use. We'll probably see a lot of switching, and whoever can respond best to whatever their opponent is trying in that moment will be in a better position overall. The only thing Persians are really lacking is in their main infantry line, and this is a tournament without any siege onagers, so they don't have that final upgrade on their onagers either.
Yeah. And what I noticed also is, by the way, is that Sparty or Turin got market first. So he got for a sale, which means that he got 70 gold, the 68, 64 before Nova, which gives him a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, if we look at resources, they're both pretty similar. Maybe Sparty bought some food with his gold. It's not, first sell on 11 by 11 isn't as big on some of the smaller maps where you can clear out the bank and get all the good prices. So it's a bit of an advantage for Sparty. We see them both on 3 town centers.
Yeah, they're on 3 town centers. They both have equal amount of villagers. Nova pulls ahead by 1, but Nova has an idle villager that's next to his TC, his middle TC, his main TC. And when you're at this low amount of villagers, every idle villager actually counts. So this technically could hurt him, although he probably doesn't notice it because it's hidden underneath his town TC.
Yeah. So also we see houses being a problem. Persian town centers get villagers out so quickly that it's easy to run out of space. So we see both players hovering around their population limit, with Sparty having the clear villager lead, 6 ahead already.
And a big mistake people make is that, I mean, this is just my opinion. Some people might disagree with me. Is that when you have, let's say, 3 town centers, you don't necessarily need to have 10 farms because you just need enough farms to keep producing out of the town centers. So instead of making more farms, I would say make houses until you reach a certain level where you feel comfortable with the amount of villagers you have. Then you obviously want to continue making farms so that you can get up to the next stage. But overdoing the farms right off the bat is usually a waste of space because then you don't have room for houses.
And we see
But that's my opinion.
We do see Sparty having more farms than he needs to keep his production up.
He has 11 farms, yep. No, that's Nova actually. Sparty has 12. So Sparty has 12 farms and he's popped, but he's at 70 villagers, and around this time is usually when people will start thinking about going up to the Imperial Age for both sides, and you can see Sparty's building his market.
Sparty is 2,000 gold to Nova's 1,700. You need 800 to click up, 500 for the onager upgrade, and then 135 per onager. So that puts you right around 1,800 gold you need. although both players tend to go more than 3 onagers so they can cut as quickly as possible. We see both an imp. Nova has 5 mangonels. Onager on the way. Sparty is...
So Nova has 5, and Sparty's just getting out his 3rd. But what that does mean, Nova will be cutting faster, even though it doesn't like. And in the beginning of this point of Imperial Age, as you're cutting, farms, houses, all that stuff that's critical at this point, because this will literally be the point where you either launch way ahead of your opponent, or you fall way behind. And Nova's usually pretty good at this. But it really looks like Sparty's actually keeping up as well, because Sparty's also building an insane amount of farms and houses, so pretty impressive.
One thing you do see, Nova's one of the top deathmatch players in the game, so he tends to have a lot more APM and can do more. Sparty's onagers have been idle a lot more than Nova's, so Nova is able to build his eco and cut at the same time, where Sparty is doing one or the other.
Right. Sparty has 8 idols, but Sparty has 120 vills, while Nova has 92. So that is something to pay attention to, because obviously there's no gold in this map, so the more woodcutters you have, the more gold you have. Sparty's also building now a castle, and so is Nova. It looks like these guys have very similar strategies.
And for Persians, you need that castle, because not only are your archers only wood once you get the crossbow up or castle upgrade, but you also get elephants from your castles. So 2 of the main units that Persians will make come from their castles, and we see both players add a 2nd castle, which is a pretty large drain on your economy.
A huge drain in your economy, and they're both... I mean, Sparty's starting off with elephants, and I mean, again, that's not only just a drain on your food eco, it's a drain on your gold eco, and because it's as far as nothing, that means it's a drain on your wood eco, because you have to sell your wood to get the gold. So basically, you'll be at no resources by just making 1 unit elephants. It'll cost you all 3.
We do see with 2 castles, the only reason you add a 2nd castle is if you intend to go elephants. So it looks like Nova is planning to open elephants as well. And he has 3 blacksmiths. As Persians, you need cavalry upgrades for your elephants and hussar, infantry upgrades if you go halbs, and archer upgrades from your blacksmith for your crossbows.
I'm going to interrupt you here for a second. Nova has a lot of idols. Okay, he just cleared his idols. Nova had like 30 idols for about like 5 minutes over there. I don't know how long it was. But his TCs are basically producing villagers, and they're just standing outside the TC. So even though Nova has 228 villagers, 30 idols is going to hurt you.
Definitely. And Sparty did have the Vill lead for a while.
Yeah.
Looks like Sparty's on 7 town centers, whereas Nova's also on 7. And we see here, Nova's cut so far that this fighting is going to start in a forward base for Nova. His main economy is entirely protected. Whereas Sparty, if Nova can push just past this little base, he's going to be right in his eco.
Yep.
Both players mass elephants. These first onager shots are normally huge, because if you can hit units in a choke point, you can get a lot of damage. But elephants are so beefy, they'll take a while to go down.
There's an interesting combination that's going on here. So Nova has more elephants, but Sparty has these crossbows in the back. Now crossbows versus elephants are just going to practically tickle them. They're not going to really do much. And Nova just completely rolled those first elephants because he had so many, and now he's just right on top of those archers. So Sparty's right off the bat is on the back foot.
And one thing Sparty did, he took his crossbows and he ran backwards with them, which did save them at first, but it gave Nova so much ground in the opening that now he's almost in Sparty's eco.
Yep, and he just had some huge shots with the onagers on Sparty's crossbows. So these this is just throwing like ineffective fuel at a fire here, or water at a fire. You're throwing crossbows who are literally doing nothing I mean, instead of those crossbows, some halbs probably would have helped, but
Yeah, or if he can micro these monks with his crossbows, that would be huge, because every conversion on an elephant is huge for Nova, who can use his monks much more effectively than Sparta's been able to.
okay, so now it looks like things are changing slowly, where Sparta has more elephants. He just overall has more units on the field right now. But Nova's starting to Nova's going heavy into monks, which is ridiculous because Nova is spending 100 gold and he's getting food and gold out of every conversion.
Sparty just doesn't know how to respond to this. He has crossbows, but he's mostly reacting to Nova here, not really doing
Doesn't have a
it.
plan.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a plan on how he's going to push us back. He's just trying to hold. And you gotta, at this point, if it's not working, you gotta change it. So whatever he's doing is not really working. They are in the same place, but the amount of resources that Nova bled out of Spartacus is a lot more. Although, I'm looking at the resources now, Nova has a lot less resources than Sparty. But Sparty doesn't even have 250 pop.
Yeah, I think the resources, if you're popped, you want to see someone with fewer resources in the bank, because that means they have less eco typically. Although Sparty's bombard cannons here, with just 3, he's been able to take out most of Nova's behind army.
I'm gonna assume that Sparty's making Hussars by accident there, because these light cabs are not gonna do anything.
Especially against Halbs.
Or elephants, for that matter.
It's interesting Nova's not making any bombards or trebs, which would pretty quickly clear out these buildings. She does have the 1 bombard.
So I think the biggest critical error I'm seeing here from Sparty is, like we said before, he doesn't have a plan. There is no plan of action here. At this point, it's like, just let me hold, let me survive, which is fine, but at some point you gotta have a plan. So, like, Trebs, if he had Trebs in the back, for instance, or something. You can see also Nova brings Vils forward to Bill's barracks, which is the most annoying thing you can do, because now you can't just push. You have to kill those forward barracks, because they'll be a nuisance the entire time.
Yeah,
and he has so many Vils that it doesn't matter to him, even if he loses those Vils. He's at 176 villagers. He should lose Vils at this point.
one thing about Sparty, he is a player who always focuses going down the middle. He's a lot weaker when the map opens up, whereas Nova is very adaptable. So right now, Sparty's banking on being able to push one path better than Nova can.
Also, as soon as Nova starts building siege, there's no way Sparty can hold that. Nova's just converting so many elephants. A conversion is so insane, because a conversion doesn't just give you an elephant, it takes an elephant away from the opponent. So you're literally killing an elephant and gaining an elephant with no resource cost to yourself. So it's insane. It's very powerful.
And we do see Sparty having bombard cannons, but he's not controlling them to kill these onagers, and he's losing his entire army to a couple onager shots. And as soon as this fighting opens up, I think it will be over for Sparty, because Nova will be able to draw his attention away, and he's the better player on an open map.
Also, I feel like if Nova would just cut open a little wider, he would just be able to run this over. Right now, it's being controlled in this little tiny choke point. But if Nova would just shoot a few onager shots to the left on those trees, he would be able to run his elephants deep into the base and it'd be over.
We do see siege rams coming in from Nova.
Yeah.
Sparty doesn't have a true response to this.
Nope. Siege ram, very effective versus the crossbows, but it's also taking down buildings, so it's eliminating his production capacity while eliminating the effectiveness of his archers as well. So it's having a double effect as well.
The the way you'd fight these rams is with elephants, but with Nova having monks behind, there's just no way for Sparty to respond with anything other than halberdiers, and a ram can take a lot of hits from a halberdier before it goes down.
Yep. Now he's got those bombards in the back as well. He can focus on the castles. All of the rams are doing it. Yeah, once this gets into this open field, it's over. I mean, honestly, if I was playing this match, I would probably delete some villagers to put the final nail in the coffin, but doesn't really have to. You could just keep playing it this way. And
as soon as the castles go down, it's over for Sparty, who won't be able to respond with his own elephants.
I have to say though, Sparty's opening was amazing. He's gotten really quick at his opening. So if he would figure out this little push over here, figure out a way to fight a little bit more efficiently, I think he could easily, turn the tides. But at this point, I think it's pretty much over, because once you're in the opponent's space, their eco is getting destroyed while your eco is completely safe. So you can keep, you'll always have resources to produce while they won't.
We see Nova streaming a couple halberdiers all the way into the back of Sparty's base. Sparty tends to overreact when there's units streaming into his base, if he ever notices them.
He's not actually reacting at all. Oh, there you go. Some helps are coming. But also Nova switching to Scorpions. So Nova basically used almost every unit that he could, besides for the crossbows. And it's the perfect time to switch into Scorpions, because he knows that Spartacus doesn't have any more castles. So he knows the only thing he can make is basically Halbs. And Halb is something that the Scorpions will just absolutely melt. So it's perfect time to switch into it. And this is kind of it's over now. Well, Spartacus does have 2 bombards, and he's microing down the Scorpions. That is something.
But you do notice every fight here, Nova has decided what the comp is, and Sparty's reacted.
Yep. True.
Which there's no real way you're going to be able to win and push if you're always reacting. Especially against a solid player like Nova.
So Nova has killed about, I'd say, like 20 or 30 villagers in the back of Sparty's base. Now, Sparty was forced to react by sending some halbs. So he has 18 halbs, about 18 halbs, just let's say 15 halbs in the back of the base that are idle now. Because they chased down those units, but now they're idle. So that's 18.
About Sparty overreacting, there was, 2 halbs here and a couple horses that he sent almost 24 units to clear up.
Yep. And now Nova's switching back into elephants because he has the resources too, so why not?
So Sparty's fighting trash units against gold units, the elephants. Again, Sparty has 6 units in the back of his base idle now because they were chasing.
I mean, Nova's practically cleaned out the whole back of his base of trees. So is Spartacus. And you see Nova again bringing villagers forward to build barracks, which becomes a real big nuisance because that now became his forward base that Sparty has to kill. So Sparty's still fighting. He is still fighting. He's still putting up a fight, but now you see he runs out of food now. Once you run out of food, it's over. Simply, he has 26 farmers. It's just simply not enough. You need to have a minimum of 50.
It is impressive. Normally in this position, when someone's in your base, it snowballs very quickly. So it's impressive that Sparty's been able to hold this long while the fighting's been entirely in his base.
Yep. Right, but once you run out of food, he has 0 food in the bank. Basically, he's in the few thousand wood. Just simply doesn't have enough resources to produce units.
We see Nova in his rebuild with his eco killing all the new farms he's adding up. Nova on the left side, Nova on the right side, and they're still fighting heavily in the middle. Sparty just cannot react in time to save his economy, so we should see the GG pretty quickly here. now that Sparty's eco... Oh, there it goes. So just looking at the mini-map, there's so much red in Sparty's base.
Well, at this point, I mean, there's nothing really he can do because once Nova got past that choke point to the open area, he can send units left, right, center, and Sparty has no choice but to react to them because it's killing his economy. And once he's reacting to them, Nova then can send units up the middle and kill it. So there's nothing really Sparty can do. But looking at the statistics as well, the military kills to death ratio. I mean, Nova has 1,000 more kills basically than Spartacus does.
It is interesting that Sparty had twice as many units converted. Wonder how many of those were elephants.
That is interesting. I thought Nova would have more. Sparty also had a larger army, but I think his army was less effective because probably the majority of that army was those crossbows, and those crossbows were doing absolutely nothing to the elephants. So those expos are really good versus infantry, or more specifically halbs. But anything else, anything that's heavy duty like paladin or elephants, it will do nothing. But overall, Nova has a lot better resources, more food collected, more wood collected. Sparta did beat him to all the ages.
It's true. Alright, well that was game 1. Game 2, we're going to see Sparty with Malay, Nova with Burmese. I have that loaded up and pause. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Alright, I'm going to go ahead and start it 2-1. So this map, 7x7, I would say this is Nova's best map. It's the one that's been around longest for out of the 3 maps in this tournament, round 1. And Sparty, pretty sure has based his build a lot on what Nova does, so we see already very similar starts for them.
Yeah, I know that Sparty was practicing this map a lot, trying to get better at it, so we should be a pretty good game.
Town center goes down for both players. Sparty at 3 farms, so is Nova. And then on this map size, the build order isn't as important. You do have a good amount of time to build up, so it forgives a slower start. So this 3-player map size is something that no one has played much in the tournament, so the players who practice more, we will see probably better overall performances out of them. It's more important on what civ you pick and the options you choose than how quickly you can get to imp.
Yep, and then the absolute critical point in any of these Fast Nothing games is until you're at Castle Age, every tree that you're cutting should basically be a calculated tree. Because if you just have your villagers running around cutting trees as they choose to, you're not going to be able to make more farms. They're not going to micro enough trees to make farms. But if you micro 3 trees in a row, and then 3 trees somewhere else in a row, then you'll be able to have. You see how they both have now 5 farms, right? They were only able to have these 5 farms because they microed those specific trees. But that's where the skill comes in.
Yeah, and we could see Sparty cutting the trees for his market before it went up. He's cutting now for an extra farm. Both players already have in mind what they're building next and why their villagers are chopping what they're chopping.
Once you get obviously to the to Castle Imperial, it's impossible to do that because you have so many villas cutting. But until you're in Castle Age, and even in Castle Age, you can always micro villas for more farms. There's macro villas for more farms. There's no reason to have It'll get you further faster. But
And
just to talk about the civs, the difference between Burmese and Malay. So Malay, their strong point is that they have two hands for no gold cost. So they get two-handed swordsmen with no gold cost, and they just have basically it's a very food-heavy unit. Well, Burmese, they get fully upgraded infantry plus 3 attack, right? They get plus 1 attack per age, correct?
Yep.
And then so they're if I had to say between the two civs, I would say that Burmese is stronger because of their attack. But if the Malay can attack earlier, then the Malay should be able to beat back the Burmese. So whoever attacks first, if the Malay attacks first, they should have the advantage. But if this game takes a little longer, then the Burmese will eventually take the advantage.
I think that's a little backwards, where the Malay, if they draw out the fighting, their only food infantry will pay off. Whereas if the Burmese fight early, the extra attack on their infantry, they'll have enough in the bank for their initial push. If they can get a good position, they won't need to sustain an hours-long fight, which will be in the Malay's favor.
I do hear that. But from me, when I play Malay, their two-handed swords they just drain your food economy because the Burmese are killing them so quickly, and you're constantly having to replenish them. So as long as the Burmese player can, and remember that Burmese halbs are pretty effective versus the Malay two hands. So obviously the Malay's two hands are better, but the Burmese halbs can keep up somewhat.
Definitely.
Mix in some champions with that, and you're pushing the Malay back.
We will see siege be a big factor, and numbers be a big factor. Whoever has the larger army will have an advantage. If you outnumber 2 to 1, you're not trading 2 for 1. You're really trading more like 3, 4, 5, or it's 5 times as good to have twice as many because you kill so much faster.
Yep.
And the Malay can sustain a large army as long as they're not losing too many to siege. So whoever can use their siege most effectively will be able to drain the other player's resources. Both civs have very similar options when it comes to siege. They both get bombard cannons, they both have onager, which we will see a lot of micro with both types.
Again, Sparty's a little bit ahead of Vels in the early game. He's at 57. Nova's at 52. So that is a little bit of an advantage. Also, Sparty has 10 farms. Nova has 8, 9 farms. Both going up to Imperial Age. Literally hit it at the exact same time.
Sparty has more food and gold in the bank. Does seem to be in a better position. Although it's so early. Oh, he doesn't have onager yet. Just got it. Nova has had some time cutting.
Right, so Nova has time cutting, and one of the things Nova's really, really good at is he can expand his base really quickly. So he'll just spread out all wide and make farms. And one thing he doesn't have is OCD like I do. Like his farms don't have to be in any particular order. He'll just spam them all over the place and make them in a massive mess. Even if there's no mill perfectly placed, he doesn't care. Although now that I'm saying that, he's actually putting them pretty neatly. But usually he just spams them all over the place. But also another thing is I noticed that Nova did this last game too, is he's cutting to the side. He's not cutting forward. Now I don't know if this is because he thinks Sparty's over there or if he's doing that intentionally. Because basically, when you make your base wider, it's harder to attack it because you don't know which you go to the right, then the left is safe. If you go to the left, the right is safe. As opposed to if it's a base that's straight, you just run units straight through it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think he's playing on Sparty's weakness. We saw in the last game in an open fight, Nova's reactions are much better.
Mm-hmm.
So he may have that in mind, thinking if he can engage Sparty in an open fight, he will be the stronger player. So we'll see how this works out for him. Normally, You want to cut straight up the middle so that you can establish a strong forward base, which is what we see Sparty doing now.
Right, but you see he's building these farms forward, which means that the fight to his farms will be a lot faster. It's a lot closer. Now, he's building a castle. Noble's building a castle. I'm not sure why. Why is he building a castle?
The Burmese castle gives extra attack for hussars against buildings. So we may see some hussar play from Nova. If he can get them into Sparty's economy at some point, not only will they kill villagers, but they can take buildings fairly quickly, which you don't normally see from hussar. And that's the only real reason, besides what you always get from castles, trebuchets, conscription, that you would build a castle as Burmese. Their unique unit does a decent job of countering massed infantry, but any ranged unit is typically a poor choice on these maps because onager shots can clear them out quite quickly.
Still going very heavy on villagers. He's up now to 177. Well, Sparty's also at 177. But he's housed. And Sparty has a lot of farms. Sparty's at 67 farms.
So at 67 farms, Nova's at 49.
Yeah, which is 67 farms? This is about right for a melee and a 250 pop. Sounds about right.
He will need that food economy, since his infantry, if he's using it as trash, will be a huge drain on food. Now, the melee, it doesn't just remove the gold cost. I believe it changes that gold cost to food cost. So, although these two hands don't cost any gold, they cost more food, which is why we see him so heavy on farms.
Okay, now somehow Nova has an onager in the trees on the top right. I have no idea how that got there, but there's an onager in the trees there. That's interesting.
You do see bugged units from time to time. This is giving a little bit of line of sight.
Okay, so hold on. So Nova has 235 vills. He's gonna have to kill some vills to make units here. He's 250 pop game. Okay, there you go. He just killed a whole bunch of units. I don't know where, but I see this for villagers.
He had no military, but we see his onagers completely take out Sparty's first group of 50, 60 two hands. Which gave Nova plenty of time to get out champs. And we see just how quickly those champs shred these two hands.
They are shredding, but Sparty just has too many. He just has too many. And Nova cannot mass enough. Nova needs to mass more in order to be able to push this back.
And Sparty has siege. Nova, one bombard cannon, one onager, not enough to clear massed units.
Some good siege shots by Sparty right there. Those are detrimental. That just kind of Nova was pushing back there, but those siege shots were actually huge. Now Nova's trying to get in tight onto those scorpions because the scorpions are hurting him really badly.
But you can't really run down scorpions with champs. Once there's this many, 8 scorpions is enough to clear out a dozen champs. You really need onagers getting up and killing these scorpions. There's going to be a huge, and you see all the scorpions.
Nova's making hussars. Yeah, he's making hussars to do that, I think.
Hussars will counter scorpions as long as the scorpions aren't massed. But Sparty has lost all his scorpions at this point, other than these two.
Yeah, but those onager shots are huge because they're killing a lot of those champions. See, but this is kind of what I said. I don't like. Sparty flooded his base so quickly with so many two hands that Nova didn't have much time to respond. Meaning that Nova never was able to really get enough units out to kill Sparty. But I feel like if there was a few minutes in the game where Nova had enough space to get out units, this wouldn't be happening. That's just.
Yeah, but we don't see Sparty using his units. As soon as he cleared out Nova's army, he could have ran forward, attacked the food eco. He's really just leaving them here, trying to maintain this position. Again, being more defensive and trying to set the pace of the game.
Yeah, which is a vital mistake because Nova is somebody who can rebuild. He can rebuild. If you don't kill him, you don't stamp him out, he will rebuild. But although Nova looks like he's out of momentum, he has no food basically. He's got barely any wood. He's down to 36 farms, while Sparty has 70. This is literally a reverse of last game, where when the enemy's in your base, you're defending your base, and he's slowly taking out your economy, while his economy is still booming. And Sparty has 17,000 food. He's not going to run out of food anytime soon. He'll be making these two hands forever. I don't see how Nova can pull this back.
We do see Sparty's bombards not really being used. They're taking down barracks. If they were to take out houses, here we see Nova running through, clearing out all Sparty's siege. He had idle and middle, not going to get into his base. Sparty used these bombards to take out houses so that Nova can't get units out unless he builds more or high value buildings like a castle, a town center. I think they'd be more effective. Nova is just so good at putting up buildings faster than you can knock them down that attacking a barracks here and there with bombards isn't going to change the fight.
Yeah. You can see Nova went from 36 farms to 45 farms. He's not playing around. He's rebuilding. So you better kill him quickly, or he'll be back in it. But again, he's at the point now where he just doesn't have enough units to push back a flood of two hands. Two hands, even though they are missing the upgrades, they're still gold units technically, and they're still good enough to push and destroy buildings.
And they will trade somewhat efficiently against these champs, even if you lose twice as many as you kill. When you have the forward position, that's fine, you just have to sustain production.
Yep.
For a player with better trash, you really want to hold and try and drain your opponent of resources. Nova has a chance here if he can open up the fight, get out of this small zone where Sparty just has too many barracks.
Yeah, but right now Nova is killing a lot more units than than is dying, because Sparty is sending them in one at a time, and one at a time Nova's champions will two-shot or three-shot two hands, right? Because of that extra attack. So now Nova's going with Scorpions that are getting destroyed by some onagers. Scorpion's pretty effective as well.
We do see the fighting is stalled here. Both players have an insane number of production buildings. They can just stay full pop no matter how many they lose.
Nova is not full pop. Nova is at 170 pop. And he is not making any military because he's busy making... he's rebuilding his food. I'm not sure why he has so many villagers queued, but he has a lot of villagers queued. No military. Now he has a few champs coming out, but it's just not enough.
Typically, once you drop in population, you want to add villagers. You always want to be max pop, so if you can't do that with army, that means you need more vills until you can get the resources to add more army. When you see Sparty, he has to push the right side, he has to push forward, he has to push the left side because Nova just has buildings everywhere and is using them all. Interesting, Sparty was attacking the castle, switched off of it. If he knocks this down, that'd be a pretty large blow for Nova.
I think he did that because I think he went for the siege workshop. I think he was afraid that onager would pop out and kill all his bombards.
That would be
I was watching
huge,
that also.
but he does lose all
been,
the
yeah.
hussars.
Yep. Now it's Halbs versus Two Hands. Two Hands will win that every day, although Halbs do fight pretty well versus them because they have the 3 extra attack. But you need to have a lot more Halbs. See, now Nova's drawing the fight away. He's running his units up. I don't know what he's gonna do with that, but he's just running them into the back like they're just chilling.
But Nova can afford this fight because Sparty's fighting to kill his forward base. He's not going for Nova's Eco at all. So Nova's Eco is unprotected. The longer he can keep Sparty out of his Eco, the more of a chance he has to rebuild. You see Sparty just has the lead on numbers. He's not doing much with it. He has so many idle units.
He has a lead in numbers, and he also has the better army. I mean, the two hands are just so strong right here. And now Nova has a massive bombards as well, so he can start destroying buildings. And Nova just, like you said, Nova's just building the buildings as fast as Sparty's knocking them down. He just keeps rebuilding. And it's frustrating because you think you're finally pushing, and then there's just a bunch more buildings there.
Yeah, I'd say priority when you're fighting, you want to kill siege because that'll clear your army out fast. Once siege is down, you want to kill vills and buildings that cost stone because that quickly gets expensive. You want to kill houses when you're killing production buildings when there's just so many. It will take a long time to do a good amount of damage to your opponent.
If you notice also, if you look up at Sparty's base, he built a wall. He just deleted one section of it. Well, he's adding a gate now because he's so afraid Nova's gonna rush his base. Even though he's pushed into Nova's base, basically, he's still petrified of getting pushed. Now Nova is actually cutting on the top.
We do see the outpost from Sparty. He expected this. He's building production buildings. Now Sparty tends to overreact. We're already seeing Sparty sending units before Nova has anything here.
Nova has nothing, and he's building these palisade walls, which are just a joke versus onagers. They just get melted. But because he has to react to that, Nova's getting a little bit of a foothold in the front. See, these halbs, like I said, like they're not terrible versus the two hands because of their extra attack, and they're definitely cheaper. So.
And we do see Sparty not able to focus fully. He has a dozen idle units on the left side. Now the Hussars come in. Sparty's palisade wall. I think the palisade walls just give a false sense of security. They have so little health. And these Hussars are going to quickly kill Sparty's eco.
Yeah, remember, Sparty's relying heavily on food. He has 30,000 banked up. I think he's kind of done it, meaning that I think that 30,000 is enough that even with this little attack, he'll be able to sustain a lot longer in the front. But if Sparty was shorthanded on food here, this would be the kill blow right now.
But you see Sparty has 80 idle units. He's just not fighting in Nova's base at this point. He's fully reacting, which really in this situation, if you trade bases in Sparty's position, you come out on top. But he's so focused on protecting his base that he's not able to do either.
Nova sending villagers forward. This is the annoying thing I keep talking about. He's gonna probably, I don't see it yet, but is he building military buildings? He's building stables in the back of Sparty's base. That is just like you can't. That's it. So you can't ignore it. You have to kill that because every time you kill his units, he'll just keep making more. But I do think though that I think Sparty has already dealt the blow. Like I don't think Nova can come back from this because Sparty's too far in his eco and his main eco.
He's in position to. If he runs into these farms, he could end it here. He has so many units that are attacking wood buildings, attacking units when Nova's eco is just right here. He could quickly overrun it. And he has 62 hands chasing a couple Hussars across the map.
Yeah.
We see
Sparty actually has one farmer right now. Sparty has one.
He's built town centers in Nova's base.
Where?
He has 2 town centers where Nova's castle was. Looks like they are planning on trading bases.
Okay. I think the two-handed swords here. I think because Nova never was really able to get off of his like he wasn't able to have enough champions to push this back. But these two-handed swords are so strong right now.
I think Sparty needs to get farms up. You see the food he had banked quickly draining.
Yeah, but he has so many units queued. Look how many units he has queued. He's got so much queued.
He's in still a good position here. I think it's gone from the clear winner
Win.
to still slightly ahead, but he needs to quickly do something. He's still reacting rather than trying to end the game.
Yeah, Nova actually has champions coming out as well. And remember, these champions will absolutely destroy these two hands.
Nova still has so many farms untouched.
Look at Nova's farm eco. It's just a mess. It's just a mess. He's got farms everywhere.
That seemed to be much more effective than Sparty's. As soon as Hussars came in, he halted his entire food eco, garrisoning his vills. Nova, with these farms all over the place, is able to sustain food production even if he loses a good section.
Nova's pushing back on the front. He's actually pushing him back.
Again, Sparty has 2 town centers in Nova's base. Nova tells Sparty it's over.
It's over, trust me. Why would I trust you of all people? I think that rejuvenated Sparty in the front over there. He's pushing Nova back again.
He had this in the bag. He just has to keep his momentum. Again, 60 idle units that he's not using. It's one thing if you're max pot, but another if most of that is just standing doing nothing.
Now, who wins, two-handed swords or Hussar?
The two-handed swords will win, although it's not a huge advantage. Sparty does have a couple halbs mixed in, so and these are just normal Hussars. Their advantage is against buildings, not units, so Sparty will win if the Hussars aren't running around.
Looks like Sparty managed to clean up the vast majority of his eco, although where is his vills? He has 53 villagers. If Nova holds right now, which it doesn't look like he is, but if he holds right now, he'll beat Sparty. Because Sparty has 57 vills. He has 0 food. He has 0 economy, very few units queued up.
Well, if you look at Nova's old forward base, Sparty's rebuilt another 2 town centers. So he keeps changing where his eco is as Nova builds a town center in Sparty's old base.
Sparty comes back with the "it's over, trust me." This is actually extremely close. I think that if Nova keeps this up, he can come back because Nova's a better rebuilder.
I think what Sparty did just now, he ran into the farms in the corner. I think that was the end.
He could have done that though, like hours ago.
Exactly. Again, that's the one time you see Sparty takes initiative and it gives him a huge advantage. He's done such a good job at the start, taking initiative with his initial fight, keeping it going. Now, as soon as he takes that initiative back, he's in a position to win.
Nova is still producing villagers. Nova does not give up. You need to stamp this guy out or he will come back.
Again, Sparty has 60 idle military units.
Yeah, but Sparty's eco is back up and running. He has 32 farms again. Well, and he's at 250 pop, while Nova has barely any farms, and he's at 140 pop. So I do think Sparty's done this. I think he's won it.
We see so much empty space on the map. As Sparty puts production buildings and all that empty space, Nova won't have anywhere to run.
Nova is actually running a villager. Oh, he just got killed. Nova ran a villager into Sparty's barracks, trying to hide, I think. I say this was it's a solid game.
Nova's running his vills.
Oh my god, look at Nova's farm rebuild.
Gets them up so quickly, and when you're in Imperial Age with wheelbarrow and all your farm upgrades, you don't need them to be that close to mills because your villagers walk quickly enough. You can build them how Nova has, and it will be just fine. But we see Sparty, now his eco untouched, and he's clearly in a position to win. He just needs to stomp Nova out. Nova's siege just taking out so many of these two hands.
It's taking a lot of units. And remember, Sparty is strapped for resources here. He's not like floating a lot, but he is pop capped, which is the big difference maker here. And not only is he pop capped, he's pop capped with better units.
And he has twice as much pop. So Nova doesn't have a lot of options here. Really needed that siege. He lost it all to one onager and he calls it GG.
That was intense. I think Nova had a chance there when he cut into Sparty's base. Sparty panicked and just started sending units all over the place. And I think that I'm not sure if you would agree with me because in the beginning of this we said that if in the long term, I said that if the fighting begins later in the game, I think that Burmese can push it back because they'll have better units. But if the Burmese initiates the fight, they'll just overwhelm you with the two hands, and you'll never be able to get a foothold.
Well,
I think that's kind of what happened.
I've seen so many games on smaller maps where the Malay try to build a castle. As soon as they build it, it kills their eco and they get run over. So on a 3-player map, I think that if they do push relatively early, they can get a castle up and have the two hands. So it's hard to say how Burmese can win this. They can't push fast on a 3-player map fast enough to deny the castle. They really need to trade efficiently and utilize siege as best they can. And we did not see enough siege from Nova, I think.
But yeah, I mean, you look at the KD, and the KD is obviously in Sparty's favor. He has 3,800 to 3,400 lost. But that being said, it's still very, very close because Nova had mostly halbs, and Sparty had mostly two hands. And in a two hand versus halbs on regular civs, the two hands will destroy the halbs. But in this case, because Nova had the extra attack, it was a lot closer than it should have been in regular civs. Nova lost 356 buildings, and if you look at the end map, he still has a ton of buildings. That's what Nova does. He just builds buildings everywhere, and you're gonna have to kill 356 buildings in order to actually beat him. Because if you don't, he'll be right back where he started.
Not only did Sparta have more units killed, his largest army was almost double Nova's. Again, when you have your opponent outnumbered 2 to 1, you're trading a lot more efficiently.
Right, so I would say that large army is probably from when Nova killed his food eco and he ran out a lot. He basically went down to 50 vills. That's the only way he could have had 200 army because it's a 250 pop game.
Right.
So I would say that when Nova killed his food eco.
And
But
that's the danger of killing vills when someone has resources banked, is they're able
yep.
to replace those vills with army. Well, that
Yep, again, you see Sparty. Sparty went to feudal, castle, and imperial age first. Um, his economy this time around, he collected a lot more food than Nova, but he needed it because he was only going two hands. But Nova did collect more gold. I think that things could have been a little bit differently if the initial engagement was delayed a little bit longer, because Nova would have had enough champions that Sparty would not have been able to just roll him over. Again, remember, Sparty got into his food eco immediately in the beginning of that game.
Yeah, Nova was on the back foot for a lot. Well, that puts the series at 1-1. We'll see how they do in game 3.